The pot roast sits dead center on my mother's oval dining table, steam curling lazily toward the ceiling. Dad cuts into his portion with the same military precision he's applied to every meal since retiring from the Army Corps of Engineers 15 years ago. The familiar scrape of knife against ceramic grounds me even as tension builds between my shoulder blades. More potatoes, Sierra? Mom pushes the serving bowl toward me, her rings clinking against the ceramic. She's been shooting nervous glances between Dad and Juliet all evening, that little furrow appearing between her brows like it always does when she's hiding something. No thanks. I adjust the collar of my forest green blouse, still creased from a day of presentations at Horizon Renewables. The drive from Austin to San Marcos for these weekly family dinners is becoming harder to justify, especially with the Henderson project deadline looming. Juliet keeps checking her phone under the table, a half smile playing on her lips. At 28, my sister still has the same barely contained excitement she had at 8 when she knew a secret nobody else did. Some things never change in this house, the faded wallpaper, the slight sag in the dining room chairs, and Juliet's transparent emotions. The garden club ladies loved your solar presentation last month, Mom says, filling another awkward silence. Gladys Peterson finally replaced that awful gas guzzler with one of those hybrid things. I nod, taking a careful sip of water. Electric. They're called electric vehicles, Mom. Dad clears his throat, that specific throat clearing that signals the real purpose of this gathering is about to emerge. My fork pauses midair. Marjorie, shall we tell her? His voice carries the expectation of immediate compliance that worked so well during my childhood. Mom brightens, clasping her hands together. We have wonderful news. Juliet will be staying with you for a few months. The green beans turn to sawdust in my mouth. I already packed most of my things, Juliet announces, finally setting down her phone. Moving in this Saturday. She says it casually, like she's mentioning a change in the weather rather than a complete invasion of my personal space. My fork freezes halfway to my mouth. The silence stretches as I process what's happening. They've been planning this. Without asking. Without even a courtesy call. Sierra? Did you hear your mother? Dad prompts, his knife poised over his meat. I set my fork down with deliberate care. Yes, I heard. In my mind, I'm suddenly back in my apartment last night, slipping the key into the lock, feeling that wave of peace wash over me as the door clicked shut behind me. The soft gray walls, the framed project award from the Texas Sustainable Energy Commission, the reading chair angled perfectly by the window, the sanctity of a space that's completely mine after years of chaos. I don't think that will work for me. The words come out measured, calm nothing like the storm brewing inside me. Mom's expression hardens instantly, the gentle smile vanishing. What do you mean it won't work? You have that spare bedroom you're hardly using. It's not spare, it's my home office. Dad waves his hand dismissively, as if my career that pays for that apartment is a trivial hobby. It's just practical, Sierra. Juliet needs a place while her condo complex fixes that water damage. Your place has plenty of room. Juliet stares at her plate, pushing a carrot around with her fork, not jumping to my defense, not acknowledging that this should have been a conversation, not an announcement. I look around at their face expectant, unconcerned, certain of my compliance, and something crystallizes inside me. This isn't new. This is the pattern of my entire life. I'm suddenly 8 years old again, coming home from school to find my bedroom transformed into a guest room for Aunt Patricia and Uncle Frank's month-long visit. My things shoved into Juliet's already crowded space. You're the responsible one, Mom had said. You can handle it. I'm 14, missing the regional science fair I'd worked toward all year because someone needed to watch the younger cousins all summer. Juliet went to tennis camp. I'm 23, working through Christmas to meet a critical deadline while the family expressed their disappointment in my priorities. Nothing has changed. My boundaries still don't matter. No, the word drops from my lips like a stone. Excuse me? Dad's eyebrows shoot up. No, my apartment is not available. Each word comes out clearer, stronger than the last. Mom's lips press into a thin line. After all we've done for you, Sierra Grace, this is how you repay us? Your sister needs help. This is what family does, Dad adds, disappointment heavy in his voice, the same tone that used to send me scrambling to make things right. Juliet finally looks up. I thought you'd be happy to help me out. I mean, you're always alone in that big apartment anyway. I place my napkin beside my plate and stand, hands trembling slightly but voice steady. My home is not a spare room for the family to use. Not without asking. Not without my consent. The silence that follows is thunderous. Mom's mouth opens and closes like a fish. Dad's face flushes red. Juliet looks genuinely shocked, as though the concept of asking permission had never occurred to her. "If you'll excuse me," I say, picking up my purse from the side table. "I need to get back to Austin. I have an early meeting tomorrow." As I walk toward the door, I feel something shift inside me, a weight lifting, a straightening of my spine. For the first time in 31 years, I've said no to my family and meant it. And I'm not sorry. Later that night, the speedometer creeps toward 80 as I drive back to Austin, my knuckles white against the steering wheel. Headlights streak past, blurring into ribbons of gold against the night. My phone buzzes for the 5th time in 20 minutes, another text, another guilt missile launched from the family command center. I won't cry. Not over this. Not again. The Austin skyline rises before me, a constellation of lights against the Texas night sky. Each glowing window represents someone's space, someone's sanctuary. Mine waits for me on the 5th floor of the Westlake Residence, a place I earned through 70-hour work weeks and careful financial planning, not family connections or handouts. My phone vibrates again. Mom this time. "Sierra Grace, call us immediately. Your sister is devastated." I silence the phone and toss it onto the passenger seat. The city draws closer, its familiar outline promising the one thing my family never truly gave me: sovereignty over my own life. When I unlock my apartment door, the silence embraces me like an old friend. I stand motionless in the entryway, seeing my space with new clarity. The soft gray walls. The reading chair angled precisely toward the window. The kitchen where every utensil has its designated spot. My awards displayed without apology. My mind catapults backward without warning. I'm 14, returning from school to find my beloved rock collection labeled, categorized, my scientific pride dumped into a shoebox to make room for Mom's craft supplies on my desk. "You weren't using it," she had said with a dismissive wave. I'm 19, home from college to discover my carefully saved economics textbooks, donated to a cousin without my knowledge. Family shares, Dad had explained when I protested. I'm 26, learning that the vacation days I'd accrued for a photography workshop in Colorado had been volunteered away by my mother. "We told your aunt you'd watch the twins while they're in hospital. It's only 3 days, Sierra. Family first." Always family first. Always Sierra adjusts. Always Sierra accommodates. My temple throbs as I drop my purse onto the counter with a decisive thud. The sound catalyzes something within me. I march to my home office, the room they so casually designated for Juliet, and pull open my filing cabinet. The lease agreement sits in a blue folder, pristine and untouched since signing. I spread the pages across my desk and begin reading each clause with methodical precision, highlighter poised in hand. Page 4. Section 5.2 jumps out at me. Tenant agrees that guests staying longer than 7 consecutive days require management approval and registration. Unauthorized occupants will result in lease violation proceedings. I highlight the text in bright yellow, then take a photograph with my phone. Evidence, ammunition, protection. My laptop hums to life. I type "Tenant Rights Texas" into the search bar and begin creating a document of relevant legal information. The familiar rhythm of research soothes my frayed nerves, replacing emotional chaos with ordered facts. An email to building management forms on my screen, each word carefully selected. "Mr. Reynolds, I'm writing to inform you that I have not authorized any long-term guests for my unit. Should anyone attempt to move in without my consent, please refer to Section 5.2 of the lease agreement. Sierra Callahan, Unit 507. I press send, then pull up the security company's website. 20 minutes and 1 credit card transaction later, a small camera has been ordered for delivery tomorrow, compatible with my phone for remote monitoring. The clock on my microwave reads 11:38 p.m. when I change the entry code on my digital door lock. The new numbers represent my college graduation date, a moment when I stood entirely on my own achievements. My phone buzzes again. I glance at the screen to see 3 missed calls from Mom, 2 from Dad, and 7 text messages from Juliet, the latest reading. "You're making me look stupid in front of everyone. I already told my friends I was moving to Westlake." I hover my thumb over the block button, then pause. That would only escalate things. Instead, I put the phone face down on the counter and walk to my window. The city stretches below, thousands of lights flickering like earthbound stars. Someone is awake in nearly every window of the building across from mine, reading, talking, simply existing in spaces they've claimed as their own. I press my palm against the cool glass, grounding myself in this moment of clarity. They won't stop at texts and calls. Saturday will bring a confrontation. I need to be prepared. I return to my desk and draft a single response to the family group chat. I attach the photograph of my highlighted lease agreement with no additional comment, then press send. 3 dots appear immediately as someone begins typing a response. I put the phone on Do Not Disturb and set it aside. For the first time in days, I take a deep, unobstructed breath. The air fills my lungs completely, without the familiar tightness that accompanies family interactions. Tomorrow I'll call building security for the weekend to alert them about potential unauthorized visitors. Tonight, I'll sleep in a space that belongs solely to me. Outside my window, the city continues its nocturnal rhythm. Inside, a different cadence emerges, the steady, resolute heartbeat of a boundary finally drawn. Next day, the security camera app chimes on my phone. I swipe it open, my stomach twisting into a familiar knot as a cherry-red SUV pulls into the visitor parking space below. My father climbs out first, squinting up at the building with that calculating expression he wore when inspecting construction sites. Mother emerges next, smoothing her coral blouse with one hand while adjusting her pearl earrings with the other. Then Juliet bounces out, pointing excitedly at the entrance while father unloads the first suitcase. 4 suitcases, I whisper to my empty apartment. They really thought this was happening. My phone buzzes again, the 5th call from mother in 30 minutes. I silence it without looking at the screen. The 3 of them gather around the SUV's open trunk, where boxes labeled Jules Winter Clothes and Bathroom Essentials wait to invade my carefully ordered life. Through the security feed, I watch Juliet direct the operation like a seasoned field marshal. Daddy, grab that pink duffel first. Mom, can you carry my hanging clothes? I don't want them wrinkled. My heart hammers against my ribs, but my resolve hardens with each labored beat. I stand in my living room, surrounded by the sanctuary I've built piece by piece. The reading chair angled perfectly to catch morning light, the bookshelf organized by topic and author, the small potted succulents thriving under my consistent care. Everything in its place. Everything chosen by me. When my phone rings again, I press my lips together and power it off completely. Not today, I tell the empty room. Not ever again. Below, the family parade marches toward the lobby entrance, arms loaded with Juliet's possessions. I switch to the interior lobby camera and watch Thompson, the weekend security guard, straighten his posture as they approach the glass doors. "Good morning, folks," Thompson says as they enter, his Texas drawl warm but professional. "Can I help you?" Mother smiles brightly, the same smile she used on my elementary school principal when arguing for Juliet's mid-year classroom transfer. "We're here to see Sierra Callahan. We're her family." "We're moving my daughter in," father adds, already moving toward the elevator bank with the confidence of someone whose authority is rarely questioned. Thompson steps smoothly into their path. "I'm sorry, but Miss Callahan hasn't authorized any guests today." Mother's smile freezes. "Guests? We're not guests, we're family." "Family members still need to be on the approved visitor list, ma'am." Father sets down the suitcase with a thud that echoes through the marble lobby. He draws himself up to his full height, the stance that made teenage Sierra shrink into herself. "Now listen here, young man. We've driven all the way from San Marcos to help our daughter move in. There's been a misunderstanding." "There's no misunderstanding, sir," Thompson replies, unfazed. "Building policy requires resident authorization for all visitors." The elevator doors slide open, and Mr. Reynolds, the building manager, steps out. His silver hair catches the light as he approaches, clipboard in hand. His measured stride reminds me of the documentary I watched last weekend about penguins, deliberate, unhurried, perfectly adapted to his environment. "Is there a problem here?" he asks, his voice carrying the quiet authority of someone who doesn't need to raise it. Mother turns to him, tears already gathering. "We're Sierra's parents. We're helping her sister move in, and there seems to be some confusion with your security staff." Mr. Reynolds consults his clipboard. Miss Callahan in 507? There's no confusion. She specifically notified us yesterday that she has not approved any long-term guests at this time. He produces a laminated document from beneath his clipboard pages. This is our guest policy that all residents agree to upon signing their lease. Section 3 clearly states that all overnight guests must be registered with building management, with explicit consent from the leaseholder. Juliet steps forward, phone pressed to her ear. Sierra's not answering, this is ridiculous. She ends the call and immediately redials, her manicured fingernail jabbing at the screen. I watch the security feed, fascinated by how differently my family behaves in this public setting. At home, Mother's tears would have worked instantly. Father's authoritative tone would have settled matters. Juliet's frustration would have become everyone's emergency. But here, their tactics find no purchase. Mrs. Delaney from 312 strolls through the lobby with her terrier, casting a curious glance at the collection of luggage. Mr. Barton from 206 nods politely as he collects his mail. 3 college students enter laughing, their weekend energy filling the space. Father's face flushes deep red as he realizes there are witnesses to this resistance. His authority, so absolute in our family home, means nothing in this lobby. We're going to discuss this later, Sierra. Mother hisses at the security camera, as if I might materialize from the lens. Juliet collapses dramatically onto her largest suitcase. What am I supposed to do now? Where am I supposed to go? Her voice carries across the lobby, drawing more glances. Father scans the growing audience, his jaw working back and forth before he taps Mother's elbow. Marjorie, let's go. Now. For 30 minutes, I watch them reload the SUV, Father's movements growing increasingly jerky with each trip. Mother dabs at her eyes with a tissue while Juliet slams the trunk with enough force to rock the vehicle. The moment they drive away, my shoulders drop from around my ears. I breathe deeply for what feels like the first time all morning. My laptop pings with a notification. Juliet has posted on Instagram, kicked out by my own blood, family betrayal, homeless, heartbroken. Comments flood in immediately. What happened? That's terrible. Family should come first. You can stay with us if you need to, honey. I can't believe Sierra would do this to you. Aunt Patricia chimes in. Your mother just called me in tears, I'm so disappointed. The comments pile up, each one a small stone of judgment. A familiar heaviness settles in my chest, the weight of disappointing everyone, of being labeled the selfish one, the cold one, the bad daughter. For a moment, doubt creeps in. Would it really have been so terrible to let Juliet stay? Am I making too much of this? I close the laptop and walk to my balcony. The afternoon sun warms my face as I look out over the city that's become my true home. In the distance, the glass towers of downtown Austin catch the light, steadfast and unyielding. Like me, I think of Thompson standing his ground in the lobby, of Mr. Reynolds calmly explaining policy, of boundaries respected without drama or negotiation. My phone rests dark and silent on the counter. When I turn it back on, there will be messages to deal with, fallout to manage. The family storm isn't over. But for now, in this moment, my home remains mine alone. The silence wraps around me like a blanket woven from my own choice. For the first time in my life, my no has been heard. And I'm not taking it back. On Monday, my phone vibrates for the 17th time this morning. I watch the screen light up, then fade to black without touching it. Uncle Robert, this time a man who calls me exactly twice a year, Christmas and my birthday. The coordinated pressure campaign becomes clearer with each notification. Sunlight streams through my kitchen window as I maintain my Sunday ritual. Fresh ground coffee beans, 2 pieces of whole grain toast, strawberry preserves spread corner to corner. The chaos swirling around me will not disturb this small act of normalcy. I've made my decision. Complete silence is my only response. I take a sip of coffee, savoring the bitter warmth as another text arrives. Aunt Patricia now, her message beginning with, "We're all so worried." I place the phone face down on the counter. Wednesday brings escalation I should have anticipated. My assistant Darlene buzzes my office intercom shortly after lunch. Sierra, your mother is in the lobby. Says it's urgent family business. I steady my breathing. Please tell her I'm in meetings all afternoon. Building security has a visitor approval list. She's not on it. 3 hours later, my colleague Marcus leans against my office doorframe. Got a weird call from your dad. Said he couldn't reach you. Wanted to make sure you were okay. His eyebrows lift in question. Family situation, I say, keeping my voice neutral. Nothing to worry about. He mentioned your sister needs a place to stay. Did he ask you to talk to me about it? Marcus crosses his arms. Now that you mention it, yeah. I nod, turning back to my monitor. That's what I thought. By Thursday morning, my inbox contains messages from 3 of Juliet's friends, all expressing concern with suspiciously similar phrasing. The circumvention of my boundaries grows more creative by the hour. I document each attempt in a spreadsheet. Time, person, method, exact wording. The pattern emerges in cold, hard data. By that same evening, I draft a single email to my parents and Juliet. No greeting, no sign-off. Just 3 attachments. 1. My lease agreement. Section 5.2 highlighted. Residents must obtain written management approval for guests staying longer than 72 hours. 2. Building policy on unauthorized guests, including security protocols. 3. A brief statement. I request no contact for 1 week. This is not negotiable. I click send, then immediately create an email auto-reply. I am unavailable until further notice. Urgent work matters can be directed to Marcus Chen. The family crisis unfolds exactly as I anticipated. Carla from yoga texts me Friday night. Had coffee with Juliet today. She's sleeping on Amber's couch. Says you kicked her out with nowhere to go. I don't respond. My neighbor Ellen catches me at the mailboxes Saturday. Your father called our HOA president asking for a copy of the building bylaws about family members. Strange request. I nod. Thank you for letting me know. Reports filter in from mutual acquaintances. My parents tell anyone who will listen about their selfish eldest daughter. The church prayer chain has apparently added me to their list of troubled souls. But something unexpected happens as the week progresses. When examined closely, their narrative begins to crumble. Did they really try to move your sister in without asking first? Ellen asks, skepticism clear in her voice. Yes. That's not how it works. She squeezes my arm briefly before walking away. Next week, Marcus stops by my office on Monday. Your dad called again. When I mentioned that forcing someone to take in a roommate seemed inappropriate, he got defensive, said I didn't understand family obligations. I continue typing my report. And what did you think about that? That I'm glad my parents still ask before they visit. By Sunday evening, the first cracks appear. A text from Juliet arrives. Can we talk? Just us? I don't respond. Mother's voicemail tone shifts from accusatory to pleading. Sierra, honey, perhaps we could discuss this over lunch. My treat. The most surprising change comes in my father's message, his voice uncharacteristically hesitant. Sierra, Douglas Callahan here. Your mother and I have been thinking. Perhaps we moved too quickly with Juliet's situation. Call when you can. I note each message in my spreadsheet, marking the shift in tone with timestamp and exact wording. My week of silence expires tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. I've already prepared what I'll say, rehearsed the conversation from every angle, anticipated their responses. Tonight I pour a glass of wine and stand on my balcony. The city lights spread before me, thousands of homes with their own family dramas unfolding behind illuminated windows. For the first time in my life, I've held a boundary without apology, without compromise, without doubt. The silent power move has worked better than any words could have. Next week, Wednesday, the Lone Star Cafe sits precisely halfway between my apartment complex and my parents' house at 12 miles in either direction. I arrived 20 minutes early to claim the corner booth with its high, cushioned backs and clear view of both entrances. No surprises today. 3 ceramic mugs steam on the wooden table. Black coffee for Dad, Earl Grey for Mom, and a chai latte with almond milk for Juliet. A glass of water sits at my place, untouched. I've positioned myself facing the door, back straight against burgundy upholstery, dressed in a charcoal pencil skirt and forest green blouse that says professional meeting rather than family chat. Small power moves matter. The bell above the door jingles at exactly 2 p.m. My family enters in formation, Dad first, then Mom, Juliet trailing behind. Their faces register surprise at finding me already settled with drinks waiting. First advantage, mine. Sierra, honey. Mom slides into the booth, immediately reaching for my hand across the table. I withdraw it casually to adjust my napkin. Dad remains standing for a moment. assessing the situation before sitting down heavily. His weathered face hardens as he notices I've placed him directly beneath the air conditioning vent. He shifts uncomfortably but doesn't complain. "You ordered for us," Juliet states, eyeing her chai latte with a hint of suspicion. "How did you know what I wanted?" "You've ordered the same thing since high school." I fold my hands on the table, waiting. Dad clears his throat, that familiar, authoritative rumble designed to command attention in army briefing rooms decades ago. "Sierra, after all we've done for you. We raised you with family values." Mom interrupts, her wedding rings clinking against her mug. "Family helps family. That's how we brought you up." Juliet leans forward, her rehearsed speech tumbling out with practiced sincerity. "I wouldn't ask if I weren't desperate. The water damage in my building will take months to repair, and all my friends have roommates already, and hotels are so expensive, and your apartment has that extra room just sitting there," Dad finishes. "It's the sensible solution." I listen without blinking, without fidgeting, without revealing the thunderstorm brewing beneath my breastbone. Their words flow around me like water around a stone, familiar currents of guilt, obligation, and family duty. Their coordinated approach confirms what I suspected. They planned this ambush together, just like the dinner. When silence finally falls, I take a single sip of water before setting the glass down with a deliberate clink. "This isn't about a spare room," I say, my voice quiet but firm. "It's about respect." The word hangs between us like a challenge. Mom's fingers freeze mid-gesture. For 31 years, I've lived with the assumption that my space, my time, and my resources belong to this family more than they belong to me. I maintain eye contact with each of them in turn. "When I was 8, you gave my bedroom to Aunt Patricia without asking. When I was 14, you volunteered me to watch the cousins all summer while Juliet went to tennis camp. When I was 23, I missed the Henderson project launch because Dad said Grandma needed me for Christmas dinner." Dad shifts in his seat, his coffee untouched. "Family obligations." "No." The single syllable stops him cold. "Those weren't obligations. They were decisions made about my life without my input or consent." My hands remain steady on the table. "You don't get to make decisions about my life without asking. Not anymore." A strange silence settles over our booth while nearby. The coffee shop buzzes with afternoon customers. A barista calls out an order. Someone laughs by the window. Normal life continues while my family processes this fundamental shift in our universe. Juliet stares into her chai, her finger tracing the rim of the mug. "I just assumed you'd say yes," she finally admits, her voice smaller than I've heard it in years. "Like always." Dad tugs at his collar, his authority visibly deflating. "We've always counted on you to be the responsible one." Responsible doesn't mean available for everyone's convenience. I lean forward slightly. "I bought my apartment with my money, from my work. The second bedroom is my office, where I prepare presentations that keep my team employed. It's not a spare room waiting for family allocation." Mom's defensive posture slowly relaxes, her shoulders dropping an inch. "We should have asked," she concedes, though the words clearly cost her. "Yes, you should have." "So what now?" Dad asks, attempting to regain control of the conversation. "How do we move forward from here?" I've prepared for this question. Simple. When you want something from me, time, my space, my resources, you ask directly. You accept my answer, whether it's yes or no. No guilt trips, no family pressure campaigns, no end runs around my boundaries. I look at each of them in turn, and if these boundaries aren't respected, there will be consequences. Fewer visits, less contact. My choice. Mom's eyes widen. "You would cut us off?" "I would protect myself." I correct her. "Because I love you all, but love requires respect." The silence that follows has a different quality, heavier, more significant. For the first time in my life, I've named the problem plainly, without cushioning it to spare their feelings. Dad is the first to stand, signaling the end of our meeting. "We should go." His voice lacks its usual command. Mom follows, her movements stiff. Juliet lingers a moment longer, meeting my eyes with unexpected clarity before nodding once and sliding out of the booth. I remain seated as they file toward the exit, back straight but somehow diminished. Through the window, I watch them cross the parking lot, no longer in formation but scattered, processing separately. The elderly woman at the next table catches my eye as she collects her purse. "Good for you, honey." she whispers with a knowing nod. Took me 60 years to learn that trick. I lift my water glass in silent salute and take a long, cool sip. The storm in my chest has passed, leaving behind the clear, calm certainty of a boundary well defended. 3 weeks after the cafe confrontation, I settle into my evening ritual. The city lights of Austin twinkle through my balcony doors as I curl into my reading chair, a steaming cup of chamomile on the side table. The novel in my lap remains unopened as I breathe in the peaceful silence of my apartment. No unexpected footsteps. No borrowed items mysteriously relocated. Just the soft hum of the air conditioning and the occasional distant car horn from the street below. My phone chirps with a notification. Juliet's name appears on the screen, and my stomach tightens. Old habits die hard. But instead of the usual demand packaged as a request, I find a photo attachment. The image shows a modest apartment in Round Rock. Sunlight streams through vertical blinds onto laminate flooring. A set of keys dangles from fingers I recognize as my sister's, the copper-colored nail polish catching the light. Her message follows, "Thanks for pushing me to grow up at the right time." A genuine smile spreads across my face as I type back, "It looks perfect for you. Need a housewarming gift? I know a place that sells the best throw pillows in Austin." The past 3 weeks have revealed a family transformation I never imagined possible. Mother called yesterday about Sunday dinner. "Would you like to join us this weekend? We understand if you have other plans." The question mark at the end of her sentence felt revolutionary. Father phoned last week about Thanksgiving. "Sierra, we're thinking about the holiday schedule. What works best with your calendar this year?" The direct question nearly made me drop the phone. My phone buzzes again with another photo from Juliet, this one showing a small dining table with a potted plant centerpiece. "First real place, that's all mine, still figuring out decorating. Help this weekend?" I run my finger along the edge of my phone, remembering our shopping trip to Target last Saturday. Pushing a cart down the home goods aisle, Juliet had paused by a display of storage bins. "You know what's weird?" she'd said, examining a turquoise container. "Mom and Dad always made it easier to depend on you than figure things out myself." The honesty had hung between us, fragile but real. "It wasn't just them," I'd replied. "I let it happen too." She'd nodded, dropping the bin into our cart. We all did. Now, looking at her apartment photos, I feel something unfamiliar: pride without resentment. Our relationship isn't healed overnight, but the foundation feels sturdier, built on something more authentic than obligation. The calendar notification on my refrigerator catches my eye. Family dinner, my place, 6 p.m. Tonight marks another first, my family visiting my apartment by invitation rather than assumption. When the doorbell rings at precisely 6, I open it to find all three standing in the hallway. Mother holds a bouquet of yellow tulips. "May I put these in water?" she asks, waiting for my answer before stepping toward the kitchen. Father nods approvingly at the framed project award on my wall. "The Henderson solar installation. That was your design?" "My team's," I answer, noticing how he actually listens to my response. Juliet bounces on her toes, excitement radiating from her. "Wait till you hear about my job interview. The apartment manager at my complex thinks I'd make a good leasing consultant." The same physical space that once felt threatened now rings with conversation that respects its boundaries. The same dining table that could have become a battleground of resentment now holds dishes passed with please and thank you. Last week at work, I found myself mentoring Amber, a young engineer facing similar family pressure. "My parents want me to move back home to save money," she'd confessed during our lunch break. "They don't understand why I need my own place." "Boundaries aren't walls," I told her, surprising myself with the lack of bitterness in my voice. "They're just the door where you keep the key." Standing on my balcony after dinner, watching my family drive away with plans made for next month, I feel the weight of my phone in my pocket. A notification appears, a holiday invitation from my parents. I type my response with calm certainty. "I'd love to come. What can I bring?" Some spaces must be claimed, not given. But once claimed, they become not just a sanctuary from others, but a place where others can be welcomed in your terms. I sit at my kitchen table, fingers trembling as I punch in the familiar number. The afternoon sunlight spills through the windows, casting long golden fingers across the worn oak surface. Outside, maple trees stand like patient sentinels, their branches already brushed with autumn's first blush. Dorian squeezes my shoulder, his calloused hand warm against my cotton blouse. His eyes catch mine steady, certain the complete opposite of the storm churning inside me. You don't have to do this now, he whispers. But I do. The wedding is 8 weeks away. The invitations sit in a neat stack beside me, addresses carefully printed in my librarian's handwriting. 28 names. 28 people who matter. Including my mother. I press the phone to my ear, counting the rings. 1, 2, 3. Hello, darling. My mother's voice flows through the line, cultured and controlled, like everything else about Marla Mathis. Hi, Mom. I inhale deeply, watching as a maple leaf detaches from its branch, spinning lazily toward the ground. I'm calling about the wedding. Oh? Interest sparks in her tone. After years of pointed comments about my perpetual singleness, my engagement announcement 6 months ago had been met with her remarkable observation, "At least someone will marry you." I clear my throat. We finalized our plans, the 12th of October, here at the farmhouse. We're keeping it small, 28 guests. The ceremony will be in the backyard under the maple trees. The silence stretches so long I wonder if the connection has dropped. Mom? A backyard? She says the word like it's contaminated. Alora, that's not a wedding, that's a picnic for broke people. My chest tightens. We have a budget of $4,700. It's what we can afford, and it's what we want. What you can afford, she repeats my words slowly. Your father and I could help, you know. Corinne's wedding at the Fairmont cost $60,000, and it was worth every penny. People still talk about it. Of course they do. My sister's proper Boston hotel wedding 3 years ago, where I was assigned to help the catering staff rather than stand with family. We don't want a big production, I say, gripping the edge of the table. We want something authentic. Something that feels like us. Another pause. And what exactly does that mean? Mismatched chairs and paper plates? I glance at Dorian, who's begun sketching something on a scrap of paper ceramic plates, I realize, with initials carefully glazed onto each one. It means handmade touches, things with meaning. My voice strengthens. We're writing our own vows. Claire is helping with decorations. We're stringing lights through the maples. Lights in trees. Her voice drops 10 degrees. Alora, this is exactly why I worried when you moved to that little town. You've lost all sense of propriety. The word stings more than it should. Propriety. The guiding star of my childhood. I'm sorry you feel that way, I manage. Well, she sniffs. I suppose you've made up your mind. We have. Then I don't know what you expect me to say. A backyard wedding isn't something we can attend. The words hit like a physical blow. You won't come? Don't be dramatic, Alora. We have standards, and if you choose to ignore them, that's your decision. The line goes dead before I can respond. I place the phone down carefully, as if it might shatter. Or maybe I'm the one about to break. The maple trees outside blur through a film of tears. She's not coming, I whisper. Not because she's sick or busy, because it's not fancy enough. Dorian kneels beside me, taking my hands in his. Elle, I'm so sorry. All these years, I say, my voice catching. Always trying to be good enough. Always falling short of Corinne. And now this. A tear slides down my cheek, landing on our guest list. It spreads, blurring my mother's carefully printed name. This is our wedding, Dorian says quietly. Not hers. I look up at him, at the man who proposed under these very maple trees, who spends evenings throwing clay on his potter's wheel, who reads poetry aloud while I cook dinner, who never once asked me to be anything but exactly who I am. You're right, I wipe my eyes. It's our wedding. He reaches into his pocket, pulling out a folded piece of paper. I've been working on my vows, he admits, a flush creeping up his neck. Something shifts inside me. A door closing, yes, but perhaps a window opening too. I reach for the phone again, this time dialing Claire's number. Hey, I say when she answers. I need your help with something. Tell me what you need, she responds without hesitation. I glance at the framed photo of my mother on the bookshelf, her perpetually disapproving expression watching me. With deliberate movements, I walk over and place it face down. Everything, I say, surprising myself with the steadiness in my voice. We're doing this our way. Next day, the attic smells like cedar and forgotten promises. Sunlight slices through the single round window. illuminating dust motes that dance around me as I pull down the cardboard box marked Corinne's wedding. I hadn't meant to find it, was just searching for extra mason jars for our lanterns, but there it sits. Pristine white with gold lettering, as meticulously labeled as everything else in my mother's world. I hesitate, fingers hovering over the lid. 3 years since that weekend at the Fairmont. 3 years since I stood in that ballroom wearing the black dress my mother selected, carrying trays of champagne flutes because it would be helpful. Found anything useful up there? Dorian calls from below. Just looking through some things, I answer, already lifting the lid. Inside, the wedding album rests on top, bound in white leather with Corinne and Bradley's names embossed in gold. I open it slowly, as if it might bite. The first page shows the bride and groom beneath crystal chandeliers, surrounded by white roses and candlelight. Corinne looks flawless in her designer gown, my father beaming beside her. I turn pages methodically. Family portraits, table arrangements, the 8-tier cake that cost more than my car. Page after page of smiling Mathises. Not one photo contains my face. I close the album, set it aside. Beneath it lie loose photographs extras that didn't make the final cut. I rifle through them until I spot myself in the background of one, balancing a tray of champagne flutes while Corinne tosses her bouquet. My smile looks plastic, eyes vacant. Something flutters from between the photos, a small note card in my mother's elegant handwriting. I unfold it carefully. Stay useful, not visible. 4 words, addressed to me, the morning of the wedding. My chest tightens until breathing becomes a conscious effort. I'd always known my place in the family hierarchy, but seeing it spelled out so plainly makes my stomach twist. Elle? Dorian's footsteps creak up the attic stairs. You okay up here? I want to hide the evidence, to protect him from this ugliness, but my hands won't move. He crosses the dusty floorboards, kneels beside me, reads the note over my shoulder. Jesus, he whispers. Pretty clear instructions, right? My laugh sounds hollow. Guess I followed them perfectly. He takes the note, studies it. Your mother wrote this? To you? I nod. Corinne's wedding. The $60,000 extravaganza. I pick up the photo where I lurk in the background. I'm right there, doing exactly what I was told. Useful, invisible. Dorian's jaw tightens. He places a warm hand on my back, traces small circles between my shoulder blades. I used to think if I just tried harder she would. My voice breaks. But it was never about what I did, it was about who I am. My phone buzzes from my pocket. I pull it out, read the text from Corinne. Mom says you're still doing that backyard thing? I turn the screen toward Dorian. He reads it, sighs. They're talking about us, I say. About our sad little wedding. Elle. Maybe she's right. The words tumble out before I can stop them. Maybe it will look cheap. Maybe people will be embarrassed for us. Stop, Dorian takes my hands. This isn't about them. But doubt has already burrowed deep. I see our makeshift plans through my mother's eyes, mismatched chairs, homemade decorations, ceramic plates instead of fine china, the family grapevine buzzing with pity. The front door slams downstairs, followed by Claire's voice. Hello? Anyone home? I brought fabric samples. Up here, Dorian calls, never taking his eyes from mine. Claire appears at the top of the stairs, arms laden with books and swatches. She stops when she sees my face. What happened? She drops everything, rushes to my side. I wordlessly hand her the note. Watch her read it. See the flash of anger in her eyes. That woman, she says, voice tight. She wraps an arm around my shoulders. Honey, this is exactly why your wedding should be everything she isn't: warm, authentic, beautiful in ways she can't understand. But what if? Thomas called this morning, she interrupts. He wants to photograph your wedding, as his gift to you. I blink. Thomas Keller? The one who shoots for Vermont Life? She nods. Says your maple trees deserve to be immortalized. We can't afford. Gift, she repeats firmly. No arguments. Dorian squeezes my hand. This will be more beautiful than anything they could imagine, Elle, because it's real. My phone buzzes again. Another text from Corinne. Mom's right, no one wants to see a wedding in someone's yard. I set the phone face down on the floor. Emma called too, Claire continues, picking up her scattered fabric samples. She wants to film the ceremony, says it's exactly the kind of authentic celebration she loves documenting, A lump forms in my throat. Why is everyone being so kind? Because you matter to them, Dorian says simply. You matter to us. Later that night, after Claire leaves with plans to return tomorrow, I find Dorian at the kitchen table surrounded by budget spreadsheets. Red marks / through items we've cut, numbers recalculated again and again. What if we just eloped? I ask, voice small in the quiet kitchen. Just us. Somewhere simple. No fuss. No disappointment. He looks up, eyes tired but determined. Is that what you want? Truly? I think about our maple trees, about Thomas's photographs and Emma's camera, about Claire's determination to help create something beautiful. I think about the people who said yes without hesitation. No, I admit, but I'm scared. Of what? That she's right. I gesture to the spreadsheets. That this is pathetic, that we're fooling ourselves. Dorian stands, crosses to me, frames my face in his hands. Listen to me. The only pathetic thing would be letting someone else define what our day should be. I lean into his touch, close my eyes. We're getting married under those maple trees, he says, and it's going to be perfect, not because it's expensive, but because it's ours. The certainty in his voice steadies me, even as my mother's note burns in my memory. Stay useful, not visible. But maybe, just maybe, it's time to be seen. A week later, the ivory invitation lies on my kitchen table like a wounded bird. Across the pristine response card, Mother's handwriting slashes in blue ink. We have standards. Not even the courtesy of checking the regretfully decline box. Just those 3 words, sharp as broken glass. Dorian finds me staring at it, my fingertips tracing the jagged letters. You okay? He asks, setting down his coffee mug. I fold the card carefully, tucking it back into its envelope. Fine. But I'm not fine. The words burrow under my skin, take root there. We have standards. As if love requires chandeliers and champagne fountains to be legitimate. My phone buzzes with Corinne's name on the screen. I consider letting it go to voicemail, but old habits die hard. Hi, Corinne. L. Her voice carries that familiar note of concern tinged with judgment. Mom told me about your plans. I press my lips together, waiting. Look, I know you and Dorian are watching pennies, but William and I could help with a real venue if you're struggling. Nothing extravagant, just somewhere proper. The word strikes like a match. Proper. The Mathis family battle cry. We're not struggling, I say, watching a chickadee land on the bird feeder outside. This is what we want. Mom says you're making lanterns from old pickle jars. She doesn't try to hide her horror. Mason jars. And yes, we've made 83 so far. Oh, Alora. The same tone Mother uses, perfectly mimicked. People will talk. Let them. After we hang up, I learn they already are talking. Emma, who cuts hair at the salon where Mother gets her monthly color touch-up, calls to warn me. Your mom was telling everyone you couldn't manage a proper wedding, she reports. Said something about how some girls just don't understand presentation is everything. I thank her for the warning, hang up, and promptly throw my phone across the room. It bounces harmlessly off the sofa cushions. Dorian doesn't say a word, just retrieves it and places it on the counter, then wraps his arms around me from behind. His potter's hands leave traces of clay on my cotton shirt. I don't care. I finished the R plates last night, he murmurs into my hair. Starting on the SZ batch tonight. Each guest will receive a handmade ceramic plate with their initial glazed in forest green. Dorian has been working on them for weeks, his hands cracked and dry from the clay. You should rest, I tell him. I'll rest after the wedding. He kisses my temple. How many more lanterns do we need? 17. Claire's coming over to help. Claire arrives an hour later with 3 boxes of mason jars rescued from her grandmother's basement. We work at the kitchen table, wrapping copper wire around the rims, attaching delicate handles. Did you hear from your mother? She asks, not looking up from her work. Got the invitation back, with a note. Bad? You could say that. Claire's hands still. Want me to egg her Lexus? I know where she gets her hair done. For the first time that day, I laugh. Tempting. We've finished 5 more lanterns when Thomas knocks on the back door. Our 70-year-old neighbor stands on the porch holding a wooden ladder and coils of tiny white lights. Thought we might start on those trees, he says, nodding toward the maples. Weather's holding good this week. Before I can answer, 2 more trucks pull into our gravel driveway. Bill from the hardware store and his teenage sons pile out, carrying more ladders and extension cords. Thomas said you needed some tall fellows for tree duty, Bill calls, waving. I look at Claire, who shrugs innocently. I may have mentioned something at the diner yesterday. For the next 3 hours, our backyard transforms. Lights weave through branches like stars caught in a net. The boys scramble up and down ladders while Thomas directs traffic from below. Claire and I hang finished lanterns from the lower branches. Inside, Dorian shapes wet clay on his wheel, forming the last batch of plates. His forearms are flecked with dried clay, his eyes focused and tired. My phone pings with a text from Corinne. A photo appears mother's living room wall where family photos hang in perfect symmetry. The space where my childhood portrait once hung now shows only wallpaper, slightly brighter than the surrounding area. No message, none needed. Claire finds me staring at the phone, my hands trembling. What happened? I show her the picture. She took down my photo. Claire's face hardens. That's cruel. That's mother. Elle. We're interrupted by the sound of tires on gravel. Through the kitchen window, I watch a silver Lexus pull up. My stomach drops. She's here, I whisper. Marla Mathis emerges from her car like a general inspecting enemy territory. Cashmere sweater, pearl earrings, leather driving gloves. She surveys the yard, the men on ladders, the lights, the mason jar lanterns with narrowed eyes. I step onto the porch, arms crossed over my chest. Mother, this is unexpected. Clearly. Her gaze shifts to the ceramic plates drying on a table near the shed. I needed to see for myself. See what? This situation. She gestures vaguely at our preparations. Oh, Alora, this is exactly what I feared. The familiar weight of her disappointment settles on my shoulders. For a moment, I'm 12 again, showing her my poetry award while she frowns at the morbid theme. But then I look past her to what she's dismissing. Thomas carefully wrapping lights around a branch. Bill's sons laughing as they untangle cords. Claire watching protectively from the kitchen window. Dorian, through the studio window, hands covered in clay as he creates something beautiful for people he loves. I straighten my spine. This wedding isn't about impressing people, I say, my voice steady. It's about loving them. Mother's mouth tightens. People will judge, Alora. They always do. Not the people who matter. She turns back toward her car, pausing with her hand on the door. Don't expect us to pretend this is normal when people ask. After she leaves, I stand frozen on the porch until Claire brings me a mug of tea. You okay? No, I admit. But I will be. That evening, friends arrive with casserole dishes and slow cookers testing reception recipes, they say. Emma brings her camera, taking test shots as the lanterns begin to glow in the dusk. I turned down my cousin's wedding to be here for yours, Claire confesses as we hang the last lantern. She was furious, but this matters more. Later, I find Dorian asleep at his wheel at 3 a.m., the final plate drying beside him. Z for Zachary, our librarian colleague who reads to the children every Thursday. I cover Dorian with a blanket, touch the plate's smooth rim. His hands made this. Our friends hung those lights. Claire twisted wire for lanterns until her fingers bled. Outside, Emma adjusts her tripod in the moonlight. What are you doing? I ask through the screen door. Testing night angles, she says, not looking up from her viewfinder. I'll capture the beauty others refuse to see. In the silver darkness, our maple trees stand dressed in tiny stars, patient as they've always been. Under their branches, something authentic takes shape, not perfect, not conventional, but honest in ways Mother will never understand. I reach for a lantern, its glass cool against my palm. Inside, the tea light flickers, sending shadows dancing across my skin. Maybe we don't need crystal chandeliers after all. On the wedding day, morning arrives in a whisper of gold. I stand at my bedroom window, watching October sunlight filter through maple leaves that have transformed overnight into a canopy of amber and crimson. 8 weeks of planning, doubting, and stubbornly creating culminate today. You ready? Claire appears in the doorway holding my linen dress. Not white cream with subtle gold threading that catches the light when I move. And pockets. The dress has pockets. I think I am. My voice sounds steadier than I expected. Through the window, I watch our friends arranging the last of the mismatched vintage chairs on the lawn. Thomas adjusts his camera settings while Emma tests angles for her video. Neighbors string the final lanterns through trees that have witnessed every season of my life with Dorian. Each glass jar catches sunlight, promising to glow like captured stars after sunset. My phone buzzes. A text from Corinne. Hope your backyard thing works out. Mom's telling everyone you eloped. I place the phone face down on my dresser and step into my dress. No shoes? Claire asks, noticing my bare feet. I wiggle my toes against the worn floorboards. The maple leaves will be my carpet. Downstairs, Dorian has disappeared tradition he insisted on, though nothing else about this day follows convention. Through the kitchen window, I glimpse the tables set with his handmade plates, each glazed with a guest's initials. 80 hours of work for 28 place settings. Thomas knocks softly. 5 minutes, Alora. I nod, suddenly unable to speak. Claire squeezes my hands, then slips outside to take her place. I stand alone in the kitchen where, 2 months ago, I weathered my mother's rejection. The space feels different now, lighter somehow. The first notes of music drift through the open window, not the traditional wedding march but a simple guitar melody played by Dorian's cousin. My cue. I step onto the back porch. The world narrows to a path of scattered maple leaves leading to the oldest tree in our yard where Dorian waits. The faces turning toward me belong to people who said yes. Who showed up? Who helped string lanterns and arrange flowers and bake pies for our dessert table? With each step across the cool grass, something settles inside me. The weight of seeking approval falls away like autumn leaves. Dorian's eyes find mine. His smile breaks open something in my chest. The ceremony unfolds in moments that feel both fleeting and eternal. Dorian's voice breaks as he says, "You make me feel like I came home." The hand-fasting ribbon, embroidered by Claire with our initials and the date, wraps around our joined hands. Simple gold bands exchange ownership beneath branches that have already witnessed our story unfold. After, we eat at long tables pushed together. Platters pass from hand to hand, hearty stews in enamel pots, fresh bread still warm from neighbors' ovens, vegetables from gardens down the road. Laughter ripples across our gathering. No assigned seating, no formal speeches, just genuine connection. As twilight softens the edges of our world, the lanterns glow to life. Emma moves among us with her camera, capturing moments I'm too overwhelmed to fully absorb. Thomas spinning Claire beneath a canopy of lights, Dorian's father raising a toast with tears in his eyes. Our librarian friends dancing barefoot on grass still warm from afternoon sun. Later, much later, when most guests have gone and just our closest circle remains, Emma shows me a clip on her camera screen. I'm putting together something simple, she says. Just 75 seconds. The video plays golden light filtering through leaves, Dorian's face as I walk toward him, the laughter erupting when our elderly neighbor tossed handfuls of maple seeds instead of rice. The entire day distilled to its essence. What will you call it, I ask. Emma shrugs. The 12th of October. Backyard. Hours. I nod. No further explanation needed. 2 days later, while Dorian and I drink coffee on our porch, my phone buzzes with a notification. Emma has posted the video. I click the link without expectation, without agenda, just to revisit our day. The number beneath the video reads 3,782 views. By evening, it's 12,400. I wake the next morning to 30,000 views and comments flooding in faster than I can read them. This is what a wedding should be, not show. I cried watching this. So much more meaningful than the $50K production my daughter wanted. The maple trees, the lanterns, the homemade everything. This is stunning. My phone rings an unknown number. Is this Alora Mathis? A woman asks. From the Maple Tree wedding video? Yes. I'm calling from Genuine Life magazine. We'd like to feature your wedding in our intentional living section. The authenticity is exactly what our readers are looking for. I sink onto the porch steps, watching another maple leaf spiral toward the ground. Alora? Dorian appears in the doorway, coffee mug in hand. Everything okay? I show him my screen where notifications continue to appear. Our wedding's gone viral. His eyebrows lift. Viral? Like a disease? I laugh, the sound bubbling up from somewhere deep and unburdened. Like something contagious, something people want to catch. Another notification pops up, a wedding planning service requesting to share our intentional authenticity approach. The irony isn't lost on me. The wedding my mother deemed too humble for her attendance has now been viewed by strangers who find it beautiful. Exactly as it was. Exactly as we created it. A text from an unknown number appears. Just saw your wedding video. Is that really your backyard? It looks like something from a magazine. I recognize the area code. Boston. One of my mother's friends, perhaps. The maple trees stand silent witness as I tilt my face toward the morning sun and smile. My phone buzzes across the kitchen counter at 7:36 a.m., 3 days after our wedding video went viral. 30,000 views became 100,000 overnight. Now the count hovers near 500,000. Are you going to answer that? Dorian asks, sliding a mug of Earl Grey toward me. I flip my phone over. Corinne's name flashes on the screen, her first direct contact in months. Why didn't you tell us it would be that beautiful? The message sits like a stone in my stomach. No congratulations, no apology, just accusation wrapped in compliment paper. What does she want? Dorian doesn't mask the edge in his voice. His protectiveness has sharpened since the wedding. I slide the phone toward him. Apparently, I was supposed to advertise that our wedding wouldn't embarrass them. As if that would have changed anything. He wraps his fingers around his coffee mug. The ceramic bears his thumbprint in the glaze evidence of its creator. My phone buzzes again, this time a voicemail notification. My mother. I press play, setting it on speaker between us. Alora. Her voice fills our kitchen, brittle and strained. I've had 3 calls this morning. People asking why we weren't at such a meaningful ceremony. You've made us look terrible. Call me back. Click. No goodbye. Dorian reaches across the table, his hand covering mine. You don't owe her a response. I know. But the old pull remains, that invisible thread yanking me toward their approval. 20 years of conditioning doesn't vanish in one autumn day. Throughout the morning, the messages pile up. Family friends, my mother's college roommate, even my father's secretary. By noon, an email arrives from my mother, subject line, proposal. Elora. Given the unexpected attention your event has received, I suggest we arrange to recreate some key photos with family present. We could use the same backdrop and lighting. I'm available next Saturday. Mother. I read it twice, then hand my phone to Emma, who arrived 20 minutes ago to show us the raw wedding footage. Holy shit, Emma whispers, eyes widening behind tortoiseshell glasses. She wants a do-over? Like your wedding was a school picture with a hair out of place? She doesn't want a do-over, I say, the realization settling over me like autumn frost. She wants to rewrite history. Emma sets down her laptop on our coffee table. What are you going to tell her? The truth. I take the phone back, typing my response with steady fingers. Mother. The wedding happened as it was meant to. There will be no recreations. Elora. I press send before I can second-guess myself. Emma watches me with quiet curiosity. You okay? No. I look at the wedding video paused on her laptop screen. Maple leaves falling around us as we say our vows. But I will be. Actually, I have an idea. I'm listening. She leans forward. I want you to set up a private screening. Here, in our living room. The full, unedited wedding video. Emma's eyebrows lift. For your mom? Yes. I turn to Dorian, who has moved to stand behind me. I won't ask for an apology. I just want her to see what she chose to miss. He squeezes my shoulder. Are you sure? No, I admit. But I need to do this anyway. 3 days later, Emma arranges chairs in our living room. Nothing fancy, just 4 mismatched seats facing the wall where she's hung a projection screen. The projector hums softly on the bookshelf. She'll be here in 10 minutes, I say, checking my watch for the 4th time. If she comes at all, Dorian murmurs. But at 2:10 p.m., exactly 10 minutes late Mother's silver Lexus pulls into our gravel driveway. She emerges wearing a dove gray suit and pearls, as if arriving for a business meeting. Her hair reflects white gold in the autumn sunlight. She dressed up to watch a video in our living room. I whisper to Dorian. Of course she did. He kisses my temple before retreating to his pottery studio. This is my battle, but knowing he's nearby gives me strength. My mother enters without waiting for an invitation, her gaze sweeping our modest living room. Hello, Elora. Mom. I gesture to the chairs. Thank you for coming. She sits primly, back straight, handbag perched on her lap. I assume this won't take long. Emma catches my eye, then dims the lights and presses play. The screen fills with autumn leaves, the sound of footsteps crunching through our yard. The camera captures guests arriving, the quiet buzz of conversation. The maple trees standing like sentinels against the October sky. My mother's posture remains rigid for the first 10 minutes. But when the ceremony begins, something shifts. Her hands clasp and unclasp in her lap. The camera pans across faces, friends weeping, smiling, present in every sense of the word. Then Dorian's voice, clear despite the breeze rustling through maple leaves. "Alora, you make me feel like I came home." A small sound escapes my mother's throat. When the lanterns glow golden as daylight fades, I notice her leaning forward slightly. The dancing begins. Bare feet on worn wooden boards laid across our lawn, laughter swelling like music. The video ends with Dorian and me silhouetted against the trees, his forehead pressed to mine. Emma slips out silently as the screen goes dark. "It looked expensive," my mother whispers finally. "It wasn't." I turn to face her directly. "You never cared to find out." She stands, smoothing invisible wrinkles from her suit. "I didn't know it would be beautiful." "That's the point," I say quietly. "You decided what it would be without seeing it first." She walks to the door, pausing with her hand on the knob. For a moment, I think she might turn back, might offer something more. But she doesn't. The door closes behind her with a soft click. I sit alone in the dim room, surrounded by the ghosts of our wedding day, feeling something between grief and freedom. And I understand finally that some doors close so others can open. I breathe in the spring air as Dorian hangs the last strand of white lights across our porch railing. 5 months have passed since our wedding day. 5 months of silence from my family. Perfect, I say. Our first spring season as husband and wife unfolds without the familiar tension of family obligations. The absence aches less than I expected. Dorian steps back, surveying his work. "The Carlsons should be here around 7. Claire's bringing that mulled wine you like." I nod, smiling at the thought of our small gathering tonight. Not the traditional family gathering I once craved, but something truer. People who showed up when it mattered most. Inside, our wedding photos line the hallway, moments captured by Thomas's careful eye, Dorian spinning me under maple branches, Claire laughing as she catches my bouquet. 28 faces glowing in lantern light. "Have you seen the letter?" Dorian asks, shaking snow from his boots. I hand him the crisp envelope that arrived yesterday. Emma's documentary about our wedding, Authenticity, A Wedding Story, has been selected for the Green Mountain Film Festival. A small triumph, but sweet. "She captured something real," Dorian says, hanging his coat. "Something people respond to." I run my fingers over the ceramic plate he made me for the last Christmas, my initials glazed in deep forest green. Mom would hate that our wedding is becoming known as some statement piece. Does that bother you? I consider this. No, not anymore. The kitchen timer chimes. As I pull ginger snaps from the oven, I realize I haven't checked my phone for messages from my mother in weeks. The compulsion to seek her approval has quietly slipped away, like ice melting from branches in spring. Later, as Claire helps me arrange pine boughs on the mantel, she studies my face. "You stand taller now," she observes. "Dorian said the same thing last week." I pause, caught off guard by the simple truth of it. The constant hunch of anticipating criticism has straightened from my spine. I guess I do. The afternoon light fades early, turning our windows into mirrors. I catch my reflection, cheeks flushed from the kitchen heat, hair pulled back simply. I look ordinary, content, free. The package arrives as dusk settles, left on our porch without a knock. No return address. Just my name and handwriting I recognize immediately. I open it alone in our bedroom, fingers trembling slightly. Inside lies a single photography I've never seen before from Corinne's wedding 3 years ago. There I am in the background, balancing a tray of champagne flutes, watching from the periphery while my family poses for the photographer. I turn it over. On the back, in my sister's precise handwriting, "I looked right past you that day. I see you now." No apology, no request to reconnect, just this admission, bare and unadorned. I sit with it a long time, the weight of it in my hands. Then I walk to our bookshelf and slide the photo into the back of our wedding album. Behind it, I place my favorite image from our day, Dorian and me dancing barefoot under the lanterns, maple leaves scattered around our feet. The doorbell rings. Voices fill our home. I close the album and return to the party, to the people who chose to see us from the beginning. On our first anniversary, I watch our wedding video alone. My reflection overlays the screen, a woman who has found her worth not in grand hotels or expensive linens, but in the courage to be fully seen. I turn off the television and walk outside to where Dorian hangs new lanterns for our anniversary dinner. The January sky stretches clear and limitless above us. "Ready?" he asks, extending his hand. I take it, no longer looking back. A wedding isn't made by fancy venues or who shows up, it's made by who stays. And sometimes, the deepest healing doesn't come from being forgiven. It comes from finally being seen.